Hi there. If you have come to this YouTube channel to find out how to start a tabletop role-playing game, then you're in the right place. Especially if you're a beginner, or worse still, a veteran of the Murder Hobo Wars. If this sounds like a tedious, monotonous, humdrum, and depressing intro, you're correct. But that is what the mighty algorithm demands from us. A mind-numbing statement of why we're here. It is what nerds like me do, make the algorithm laugh in a dreary sort of way. You just have to play the game. So, how do TTRPG, or just RPG? Look, it says so here in print, so it must be true. Different from most games. Tabletop role-playing games, or RPGs, occupy a unique space in the world of games. They're not just games in the way casinos define them, which is a mathematically astute way to extract loot from suckers, nor games in the way families define them, which is a way to while a few hours on a Saturday afternoon. And they're only tangentially related to games in the way mathematicians define them. So what are we talking about when we talk about RPGs? Unlike board games, they have no fixed board, though maps can be used to guide imagination. Unlike card games, they don't have a fixed set of values, though you can use them in a resolution of the mechanics or as a character against other people in the game. But most of all, unlike casinos, there's no money changing hands. What they do is use dice to figure out what happens after players and non-player characters do or do not do in a situation. That's the roleplay. The idea is that you slip into a different role than you take on in your ordinary life. You can be a detective, a spy, a noble, or a paladin. The possibilities are endless. Thick characters, individuals who embody the characters with motivations, personalities, and goals. These characters interact with the world, populated by monsters, allies, and strangers of all kinds. This is why a player plays a character. This is what it means that they are player characters. Encounters in RPGs are not limited to a single combat. A single situation might involve negotiation, persuasion, deception, or even retreat. Words, gestures, and creative thinking all play a role. At their core, RPGs are a form of collective art. The game master sets and portrays the world while the players take on challenges, making decisions that shape the story. Think about The Hobbit. Bilbo goes into combat, but sometimes he plays riddles to avoid being eaten, and sometimes he escapes on the wings of eagles. And games masters have to come up with various situations to test the mettle of the players. That can mean drama, humor, or even farce to create a world with imagined possibilities. There are many reasons why people are drawn into RPGs. First and foremost, they're fun. And fun is good. RPGs also provide a platform for world building. Players and game masters can create and explore detailed settings from fantasy kingdoms to futuristic galaxies. This creative process can be deeply rewarding. Probability also plays a key role. Together, these aspects make RPGs both intellectually engaging and emotionally immersive. To start an RPG does not require much. The essentials include games rules. That is, starting an RPG does not require much. The essentials include games rules, a system that defines how actions are resolved, dice, usually in various shapes depending on the game, pencil and paper for tracking characters, notes, and maps. Map paper, both square and hex, will be valuable. A campaign, a setting or storyline in which the game takes place. With these simple tools, a group can create entire worlds and adventures. More complex accoutrements can give an edge to what the group intends to try to do. So, how does this happen in the real world? Most RPG experiences follow a structure. Choose a game. Select a system that suits your group's interests. Write or select an adventure. This can be an original story or a pre-made scenario. Then, wind down. Reflect on the situation. Discuss the highlights with the games master. Prepare for next time talk about the game is also part of the game itself. This cycle repeats, allowing the story to grow under multiple sessions. This is one of the other differences between RPGs and everything else. An RPG can end at a particular time, but does not have to, whereas most board games end at some particular time, even if that time is sometime in the future. For beginners, it helps to start with a variety, but keep the scope manageable. And I will often say that choose two games with different styles, one such as fantasy and one science fiction. This can reveal what players enjoy most. Similarly, experimenting with different tones, such as gritty realism versus over-the-top heroics, helps cater to different preferences. Some players enjoy tracking every detail and managing resources carefully. Others prefer swapping narratives where their characters rise to prominence in a vast world. Catering to both styles allows each player to find their niche. When designing a setting, begin with a small area. This does not mean limiting creativity. It could be a single neighborhood within a massive city. A focused starting point makes the game easier to manage while leaving room for expansion, with a respondé soufflé waiting to be taken. There is a natural progression to learning RPGs. First, you learn how to play. Then you discover what you like. Mistakes are often part of the process, and each session offers an opportunity to improve. So, the next step is choosing a game. When starting out, simplicity helps. But familiarity matters even more. If members of a group already know a particular game, it is often best to begin there. Prior knowledge reduces the learning curve and allows players to focus on the experience. If no one is familiar with a particular system, choose an inexpensive and straightforward game to learn the basics. After several months, once the group has a better sense of what they want, then they can move to a game that excites them more. It is also worth recognizing that RPGs may not appeal to everyone, so starting with small with options makes learning. Starting with available and accessible options makes it easier to explore without a large commitment. Some simple games are well suited for beginners. To take two examples, Classic Traveler, a science fiction with a long history and relatively straightforward mechanics, basic fantasy role-playing, an affordable option which simplifies the rules, comes free with expansions available online. These games provide a low-cost way to understand core concepts. Players can enjoy them, and they can continue to play. If not, they still serve as a valuable introduction to the hobby. There are expansions at free or low cost available on the internet, which I will go over very soon. Of course, many people want to take on larger challenges, such as Dungeons & Dragons 5e, Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, or Mongoose Traveler. Many RPGs teach rules, but not the subtleties of pacing, storytelling, and player engagement. Learning these advanced skills transforms a good game to a memorable one. First, we will talk about some tools of the trade so that you can feel out what you've signed up for. But second, we will talk about what makes this channel different from all of the others. Manashtalahlaza and all that. Core principles of probability, game theory, and world building. That which makes your time with J.R.R. Tolkien, Ursula K. Le Guin, Gary Gygax, and Mark Miller more than just a fun way to spill a few pseudo beers on a Friday night. And just remember, I am not a crook.